Salutations, crustaceans. I'm Lobster, and today we're building a Fender P-bass. Let's do this.
La la la, la la la, building up bass with Lobster.
So this is going to be a Fender P-bass. Last year, you may remember that we built a P-bass out of some spare parts that I had, as well as some I bought secondhand, and then some small parts I purchased on Reverb. However, a lot of people were asking me, where I got that body, about the status graphite neck that I put on that, and most of those things were just stuff I had lying around. So I thought, this time around, let's build a bass that you guys can build as well. Now these are all genuine Fender parts, at least for the most part. The pots aren't Fender, but those are CTS pots. Everything else you see here is Fender, and we are going to be constructing a Fender parts bass out of Fender parts that you can buy online. Now this can also apply to upgrading an existing P-bass. For example, we are using the Fender Roasted Maple P-bass neck. You can buy that direct from Fender for $329 US, I believe. And you can actually install this on an existing P-bass. However, I just wanted to build a P-bass for fun, and I think this is going to turn out real nice. So we're going to go from start to finish, installing the bass with some Fender genuine lightweight tuners, a Fender badass style bridge, their high mass bridge, Fender body, Fender neck, as well as a Fender pickguard and a DiMarzio pickup. This is the same type of pickup that Adam Neely has on his bass. It is the Split P, I believe. I think that's the name. Anyways, that's what we're going to be using here. Now, before we get started, let's go over the tools that we're going to have with us today. We are going to have the socket tool. This is a triple socket used to tighten the pots as well as the jack on the pickguard that we're going to be using. We also have our digital caliper. This is to measure small distances, for example, the distances between the holes that we're going to be drilling for the tuners. Now, there is going to be some drilling, as I mentioned. You need a drill just to install the tuners and the pickguard, I believe. I don't think there's any other real drilling required, as the body is pre-drilled for a Fender bridge and does have a hole for the ground wire. We're also going to use a larger 19mm socket to tighten the tuners onto the headstock. So be sure you have one of those handy. Going to need a screwdriver. Regular screwdriver, anything will do. This is a ratcheting screwdriver, but it's not set to ratchet mode, so it's not doing anything. That's embarrassing. Some wire strippers / wire cutters. These are very important, so make sure you have a set handy. We have a little screw kit that I got online. This is just for any extra screws that we may need. It's always good to have handy. Copper shielding tape and painter's tape. The painter's tape is used to, in case you need to mark up the neck or body and don't want to write on the body itself, as well as to protect the body when you're drilling, or the neck. And this is copper shielding tape. We are going to be doing a full shielding job on this bass, so be sure to pay attention. And last but not least, we need a soldering iron. Soldering irons are very important when you're setting up a bass like this. It requires soldering unless you're using EMG parts, which are mostly solderless. In fact, they're entirely solderless if you do it right. So that's pretty much all the tools that we're going to be using. And now let's get started. You guys know what you need to do. Go ahead and pinch that like button so my hand will turn back to normal. Thanks. So the first thing we're going to start on is the neck. What we have here is a Fender genuine roasted maple precision bass neck. You can buy these direct from Fender for $329, and these would make an excellent upgrade to an existing P-bass, but this is going to be part of our build today. This is a roasted maple neck, 34-inch scale, 20 frets, and it has a modern, I guess, profile. This isn't the same as the 51 series roasted maple neck, which comes in at $399 and has a fatter profile. So this is a much more modern, thinner profile, and I like this. So this is what we went with. We're going to be installing these Fender American lightweight tuners. These aren't actually made in America, but these are featured on the American Professional 2 basses, as well as some other Fender American instruments. So these are the good Fender tuners. However, the mounting mechanism is a little bit weird. Instead of having a screw hole like the Hipshot Ultralights, it uses two little nubs here. as you can see. So we are going to be measuring out and just drawing out the holes for the tuners on the back of the headstock on some painter's tape. So let's get started with that first. Here's the neck. We have the back here. I'm going to go ahead and clear out my workspace. I have some foam laid down just to protect the body and neck that we're going to be working on today. There we go. One other thing you might need is a square or a ruler. We're just going to use this big guy just because I have it around, so we'll hold on to this and keep that over here. And let's keep taping. So I drew two lines, basically one on the top of the tuner hole and one on the bottom of the tuner hole, connecting all four holes. And I believe that is where the little nubbins are going to be going. Now that I have the headstock all taped up, I'm going to go ahead and install a tuner. Obviously, I haven't drilled the holes yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and line them up visually and see if my hypothesis is correct. And if it is, I'm going to go ahead and make some marks where the holes should go and get drilling. We'll do a test fit. Yep, so the little nubs go right through these lines, right down the center. So I'm just going to mark off where they are going to be. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and remove the tuner and we're going to get drilling. We're going to see if it lines up and how it fits. So I see the markings that I made. I'm just going to go ahead and draw in the circle. Okay, I've made my marks. Let's make some holes. And let's see how the tuner fits. Oh yeah. There we go. That is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and use my digital caliper to measure the distance between the hole and the top of the circle, the center of the hole and the, center of the top of the circle right here. And it is approximately 0.6 inches. So we can put that over there. Do the same thing. Now that I've marked the rest of the holes, I'm going to go ahead and drill them and we'll install these tuners. One helpful tip is to use some painter's tape to mark out exactly how deep you want to drill. That way you don't go too far. Okay, we have the neck assembled here. We have the tuners installed. I'm going to go ahead and charge my drill and I'm going to fix this tuner later, but we have the tuners installed at least well enough for me to then fine tune them a little bit later. Let's move on to the body and the electronics. Now, because this is a P-bass, we can actually wire everything besides the pickup onto the pickguard. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a pickguard. I was a bit indecisive on which one to pick. We have an anodized gold as well as a black. I think I'm gonna go with the gold though. So let's go ahead and get started with this. This is the underside here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and apply some shielding tape just to the underside of this pickguard. I know it's redundant, but I'm gonna do it anyways in case you wanna use a regular pickguard and just wanna get some quality shielding here. So let's get started with that. Okay, now that we have the pickguard all shielded up, I'm just going to go ahead and poke some holes here through this shielding, and we are going to install our pots and a jack. So let's do that. So we are going to be using a stereo jack that I had lying around. Mono is usually the normal one that you use. However, a stereo jack is going to work just fine. These are usually for active basses where you have a third lug for a battery ground. However, yeah, it'll work just fine. So we have that. We have 2 CTS pots. We have a 0.1 microfarad tone capacitor and some wires. So let's go ahead and turn this into a bass. And we are going to be using a Seymour Duncan little pickup chart. I'm going to have that linked in the description below. So be sure to use that as a guide if you want to follow along. And I have no affiliation with Seymour Duncan or anything. I just found it on the internet and it looked good. So we're using this one today. I'm going to go ahead and power up my soldering iron. Make sure that it is away from anything flammable. And I'm going to let that heat up for a little bit and start installing these pots and get them all lined up and ready to go. Okay, now that we have the pots installed, let's go ahead and look at our wiring diagram and start getting our wires together. Okay, the pickguard is all set up. Let's go ahead and move on to the body. Here we can see it's a genuine Fender replacement body. Here's the body. This is a nice sunburst body. Mexican body, has a little cutout thing right here. So you can't run without a pickguard. Oh well. Let's go ahead and get this thing shielded up. And now that the shielding is complete, let's, what are we gonna do next? Let's go ahead and solder up the bridge ground to the ground circuit here and keep this thing moving. Now the last thing we're going to do before we flip this thing over and start drilling some holes for the pickguard and getting the pickup set up is setting up the shield ground. So I'm just going to run one other little green wire. I'm going to do something a little different here. The very limited amount of solder that I have. So I'm going to solder this to some shielding tape, and then I'm going to solder the other end to the ground. So I'm not going to drill anything permanently yet because we want to attach the neck first to ensure that the neck fits snugly around the pickguard as well, and we don't have any issues there. But we are going to wire up the pickups. So let me grab the pickup box here. These are the DiMarzio Split P-bass pickups. Let's go ahead and start installing them. And here we have it, our completed Fender P-bass. I am going to go back and just fine tune one of these tuners over here and screw in some of these additional screw holes. Outside of that though, we're done. And I'm going to go ahead and string this up and we're going to do a little bit of a tone test. It's going to be real quick, but I want to see what this thing sounds like. So let's go ahead and do that. But for now, we are done with the build. Let me know what you think, and I will see you back in my lair. And here we are. This is the final result. This is my DIY Fender P-bass. I've installed some Fender knobs as well as some MJC Ironworks nickel-plated stainless steel strings, gauges 45 to 105. I also installed a string tree as well as these strap buttons. So this is now a fully functional battle station. I mean P-bass, whatever. Now let's see what this thing sounds like. I don't know where I was going with that. Either way, this bass plays great and it sounds great. Let's go ahead and play with a little bit more, and then we'll play with the tone control. That stank. Oof. Let's go ahead and turn the tone knob down to about 50%. Oh, I didn't tighten this all the way. Let me go ahead and tighten that, and then we'll turn it down to about 50%. There we go. Tone's at 50%, and we have a 0.1 microfarad tone capacitor here. Here's what that sounds like. Very nice, very nice. This is a really nice neck. It's extremely smooth. The fret job was okay. It was a little pokey, but I solved that with my fret filing tools, no problem. It took me, 10, 15 minutes to just get them filed down on the little edges there. But other than that, it wasn't so much they were sharp, they were just poking out and a little bumpy. But I guess I would expect a little bit more from a $320 neck, but it also could be environmental, how they were stored, or anyways. Another thing that really stands out to me playing this bass is the balance. These Fender lightweight tuners and the high mass bridge make this a very balanced instrument. Oh, look at that. There we go. And then if you wanted to get really dark with the tone, you could turn it all the way down. Ooh, yeah. Now let's go ahead and turn the tone back up to 100%. Slap it a little bit. Very nice, very nice. Now, let's go ahead and play this with a pick a little bit, see what that sounds like. I'm gonna grab my trusty felt pick here. Look at that, and let's do it. Not bad, not bad. Finally, let's go ahead and throw some drums behind this case. So here are my final thoughts on my DIY Fender P-bass. Basically compiled completely of Fender replacement parts except for the pickup, which is a DiMarzio split P pickup. Excellent pickup, by the way. As you can tell from that sound clip, it doesn't sound like your typical P-bass, but it sounds great, and I really like these pickups a lot. The pots are also not Fender genuine pots, they're just CTS pots that I have lying around. Other than that, though, I believe everything else that you see here is Fender. The total cost for this build, if you buy all of your Fender parts directly through Fender, is about $1,002 before shipping and taxes. However, if you look around at other retailer websites, for example, Reverb, Amazon, etc., you can find some of these parts for a little bit less money and save about $100. I'll have all the parts linked down below with the Fender links, and you can use that as a reference to find the best price. Now let's talk about the difficulty of this build. It was honestly not that hard. There was very minimal drilling, very minimal soldering. We had a very simple diagram which we could follow along with, and overall I think it was a very successful build. This body is pre-drilled for the Fender style bridges as well as for the strap buttons and the neck. So you really don't have to do much. The body is pre-shielded with the paint, however, it was pretty grimy in there. I had to wipe down the interior of the control cavity with a wet cloth because it was really grimy in there. And the copper shielding tape, which I wanted to lay down, wouldn't adhere properly. So after doing that, I was able to lay down all my shielding tape, and this thing is running silently and it sounds great. The neck is also pre-drilled for the body, so it lined right up and screwed right in. I didn't have to make any modifications or drill any additional holes. The only drilling that I had to do was for the pickguard screws, as well as the tuners and the string tree. The string tree was very easy to line up once I installed the strings, And the tuners were very easy to line up as well once I drew my reference lines on the painter's tape, which I installed on the back of the headstock. That really didn't take long, and I only had to go back and revisit one tuner because my drill was kind of running out of juice there, so I charged it back up afterwards, and everything is fit perfectly now. Setting up this bass was a breeze. Truss rod access is at the headstock, and just make sure that your neck is screwed down nice and tight, because that can present some setup issues otherwise. Outside of that though, I thought this build was a breeze. It was actually much quicker and easier than last year's build, though I've gained a lot of experience over the past year, and it definitely shows with the quality of this build. I really like this a lot. It's a well-balanced P-bass that is tailored to my liking without having to modify something existing. However, again, this video does apply to all you guys out there with existing Mexican P-basses that you want to give a little bit more flair. These necks will bolt right on. You can install this pickguard, but again, some screws may not line up, and this pickup upgrade is something you can do yourself, as well as a tone cap upgrade if that's something you wanted to do. And the bridge screwed right in. I didn't have to do anything special there, no additional drilling. This is all basically upgrade parts that you can buy from Fender yourself, and I think the result is stellar. So I'm really happy with the end result. This is a Fender built to my liking, and it's cheaper than some of those Mexican offerings on the higher end that don't have as high quality hardware here. So doing it yourself, just like a computer build, or at least it used to be before the whole parts shortage and whatnot. Anyways, doing it yourself does save you a bit of a buck, and you can have it your way too. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Fender P build that we did here today, and go ahead and share your experiences with a DIY bass build. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like, subscribe, and join our Discord, and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about our DIY Fender P-bass. And as always, until we groove again.